Hey, it's Nurse Dani, everyone, and I'm here today with Alison. Some of you may know her. She's amazing. And we got together a couple of weeks ago and did like a live stream and had a ton of fun with it. But we had a ton of leftover questions, so we thought we'd do a follow-up video.
Bring on the questions.
We love questions. So we're just going to go over a couple of those today. And then if you guys have more questions in the future for either of us, then you can look at Intermountain Moms. And how can people find you?
I'm the Alison Show, Alison with one L, and I'm just around, man. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. I'm just
Everywhere.
hanging out.
She's really famous.
Yeah, I've got a blog. No.
I'm like honored to be here today.
That's what I say. There are pigs with more followers on Instagram than I have.
Cats.
Cats.
Cow, cats.
Yeah, like cats are cooler than me. Yeah. But I've got a few online friends. Come be one of them. It's good. Yeah.
Okay, so today we'll go through a couple questions we got last time. The first one is, did you ever naturally induce any of your pregnancies to end it a little faster? So let's hear your story, and then I'll put in my 2 cents.
Like, first off, I wish that you could, right?
Okay, that was going to be my first 2 cents, because you can't. Okay, let's start with like at 39 weeks. If you've had a baby before and the circumstances are right, your doctor will be like, hey, you're 39 weeks on June 21st. Do you want to have your baby that day? And you'll be like, awesome, because dad can get work off. You can get babysitters for the other kids you have.
Yeah.
You show up to the hospital, we start Pitocin, and you deliver your baby within a few hours. It's awesome. It goes nicely all the time. But if we're talking about, like, sometimes you have to be medically induced, that's the story both of us have. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, making yourself go into labor on your own, don't do anything to make that happen before 39 weeks, because I promise you, your baby will do better if they're born after 39 weeks. Full term is 37, but even if you deliver between like 37 and 39, babies don't eat as well. They get jaundice. Sometimes they have breathing problems. So you have some short-term hurdles that are kind of hard to overcome, and it's actually easier to keep them inside a couple more weeks than it is to deal with those problems when they're out.
Just gotta bake them a little longer.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta bake them.
But like naturally inducing, everyone asks me this question, like especially, I think of this girl every time. I sent her home for the third time my 12-hour shift.
Oh,
and it was so sad.
I felt so bad for her.
I felt so bad for her. And like her husband, the third time was like, I'm not taking her home. Do something with her, you know?
No.
Like they both had just had it. And so like my advice to all of those kinds of people is go home and do what you did to get you here, and maybe you'll come back sooner.
There you go.
Got it?
Oh my
Like go home and have the
gosh.
most passionate sex of your life.
Yeah.
And like I can say these words because I'm a nurse. If you do nipple stimulation, it causes your brain to release oxytocin. That's pretty much like scientifically the only thing that helps.
I feel like her husband like gave you a huge hug and like skipped out of the hospital.
Like, okay, now I know what to do with her. So I've heard like walking on a curb, eating pineapple, eating eggplant, all that sort of crazy stuff. There's no validity to it, but if it's not going to hurt anything, why not try?
Yeah.
As long as you're far enough along.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear birth stories.
So I had cholestasis, which is bile salts.
Yeah.
So essentially what it means is I get super, super itchy, and it's not like a topical itchy, and it's mostly on my hands and feet, but
it's literally in your blood.
It's in your blood. So they give you some medicine for it, but like it doesn't actually really help. So it just like kind of mitigates the itchiness a little bit. But like with Ginger, I had it very, very severe, and it can be dangerous for the baby. And they've actually changed like the protocol essentially between when I had Ginger and when I had Fiona as to how early they induce you. So with Ginger, I was induced at 36 weeks because I had it so severely, and it can be dangerous for the baby.
The bile salts,
you're the nurse.
The bile salts can pass through the placenta and affect the electric conductivity of the baby's heart and make it stop.
And so
the incidence of stillbirth is really high after 37 weeks. So we just get the baby out.
So they induced Ginger at 36 weeks, and she did have jaundice, but I had jaundice, and it's kind of genetic, I feel like, a lot. So it could have been
it's
because
a very common problem, but just because we say we kind of talked about this before we started. My first had jaundice too. It can be so hard for parents to deal with a baby that has jaundice.
So I don't want to
stressful. I don't want to just like skip over and be like, your baby might have jaundice. No, I mean, but if you have to be medically induced, it's worth it, because that complication is far better than what would have happened if you were induced.
And so then my second baby, Rad, I was induced at 37 weeks with him, and at that point, it was like I had a lot of emotional and hormonal and mental problems happening, but they still couldn't, like, I was like, I will kill myself. And I know a lot of pregnant women say that, but I was like pretty serious.
You're serious.
Yeah. So I know it's hard for people to tell when you're being serious, but I was being serious. And, but they still, couldn't really medically induce me for that. And it wasn't as much of an issue because they could legally medically induce me for having cholestasis. And that happened with my third, with Fiona. But I was itchy, but my bile levels or the salt levels or whatever they test they weren't high enough to medically induce me. But they were very worried about my mental state, again, as they should be. So I was coming in for non-stress tests and my fluid levels were actually so high. I had high fluid levels with all my babies, but the cholestasis was like more severe. But with Fiona, I went in for a non-stress test and they're like, oh, your fluid levels are crazy. And I was like, I'm always got lots of fluid. I'm a big lady. And they're like, oh no, it's actually really serious. And I didn't realize how serious it was because they were always more concerned about the other thing. But that's technically why they induced me at 37 and a half weeks for her. They didn't have like the legal medical, but I mean, you're in there like hysterically crying, like begging them to induce you. And it's the perinatalogist, the baby specialist doctor. And he's looking at you like, I wish I could induce you because I believe that you're having real problems, but they also are just like on the baby's team.
You're bound by, you have to do what's best for mom and baby. And like whenever we induce a mom, it's because at that point we've decided that it's better for baby to be out than in, or it's better for mom for the baby to be out than in. And so you have to weigh the benefits against the risks and how's the baby going to do at that gestational age if you have to induce early for a problem. So naturally inducing yourself, totally different story than like medically inducing.
And then I think also people might have mixed feelings on getting induced at 39 weeks or letting the baby come naturally. And I'm like, you're the nurse, but just you got to follow your heart, man. Right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, like 41 weeks is the ultimate due date for anyone. Oh, because
man.
That's torturous to go that far.
I've never seen 40 weeks.
Some people say like, well, I want to do it naturally. I want the baby to come when they're going to come, but some babies never get the message, or some moms' bodies never get the message. So like at 41 weeks, the placenta, it's not working so well. It has an expiration date, and the rate of stillbirth is really high after 41 weeks. So we have to get the baby out. Plus, if you're trying to lower your chance of C-section, and that's why you're wanting to do like au naturel, if you let yourself go longer, then your chance of C-section is higher because the placenta is not going to be as good farther along in the pregnancy, and the baby's going to be bigger and less likely to fit. So if your doctor's offering you an option for induction, it's not a bad thing.
Well, and I was really disappointed with the first baby because I had been taking the Bradley method classes and I was really looking forward to a natural childbirth, and then they had to do the ripening and the Pitocin, and it was like so far.
Like a totally long process.
Yeah, and it was rough. I pushed for 3 hours. It's like she didn't want to come out, guys.
Oh my gosh.
It was real rough, but it was, even though it wasn't that natural childbirth, it was still like the most beautiful experience of my life, and I loved my birth, and I absolutely loved it. And so just because it's not what you thought it was going to be, it can still be beautiful, right?
Oh, totally. I teach prenatal classes. This is how I start each class. Like, I want everyone to be prepared for the worst experience ever. And if they do anything better, they'll just be happy.
That's good.
Because like a lot of things happen during childbirth you have no control over. And so in order to make sure moms and babies are healthy, we have to intervene. And those interventions are a lot of times things people are scared of. But there's no reason to be scared of it if you know it's being done so that you're both going to be okay. Yeah. So like if you're the girl being run down the hall for an emergency C-section, with your butt in the air, that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my gosh.
I want you to be okay with it because sometimes we have to induce. Sometimes we have to do all the things that people are scared of or don't like so that everyone's okay. Yeah. Thank goodness for modern medicine.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
we're bad at rapid fire.
We really are. We like to talk too much.
We have too much to say.
I like this one because we both had babies in the winter. Yep. Did staying inside so much in the winter make you go a little stir crazy, or did you find that it was more helpful?
So for me, I was saying my third baby was born in December, and I allowed myself to rest more, watch more TV, stay on the couch more, stay inside more. No one expects you to be
anywhere. Yeah. Which is kind of nice.
Yeah. Nobody expects you to be anywhere. I just expect myself. I went to Target because I needed like some pump accessories, and somebody talked to me, and I started crying so hard that I couldn't stop crying. So then I just stopped going anywhere. But I was telling Nurse Dani that for me with my third baby, I knew it was important to leave the house. And so I actually came to this office space. I had just gotten the office space and it wasn't set up at all. I didn't expect myself to work, but I kept my babysitters coming in the afternoon, and I would come bring Fiona with me, and I'd nurse her, and I'd get all set up, and I'd answer a few emails, and then nurse her again. And then by the time it was time to leave, I'd maybe gotten like half an hour of work done in 3 or 4 hours. And that was okay, because it's like putting on your exercise clothes and putting on your running shoes, like just going through the motions was very helpful for me mentally. So a little stir crazy, but then going to like a safe space, right? So
and slowly working back.
Target could be your safe space.
Yeah.
I just tend to run into people I know there, and I can't.
I remember we were like, it's in the winter, you're worried about sickness, right?
Yeah.
You don't want your baby to get sick, and everyone always wants to know how long should you wait before you go out. And we technically say, most pediatricians say, wait till the baby's gotten all their 2-month shots, because then they're immunized against a lot of scary things it is.
Yeah.
So until then, hand washing and sanitizer can go a long way.
Yeah.
So you can still go out and do stuff. Just wash your hands, sanitize if you're out and about and can't. Just put your baby in the carrier, cover him up. Like, holy cow, that was our sanity. We got a babysitter for our older daughter. And I remember on our second, we went out after only like a week, because I was like, we need to do this.
Yeah.
We went to dinner. I knew like you nurse the baby, you set your timer, right? Because in 2 hours, they're going to want to eat again. So I'm like, where can we go? It was just Wendy's. But we like sat in the corner, and I just covered him up, and we just talked for a little while.
Yeah.
And it was so nice. So whatever your place is.
The covers for the car seats are so much like, between the first baby and my third baby, like you can find that stuff really easily. And it's just like, you like shroud that baby. You're like, you don't look, you don't touch, you don't even breathe on. And you've got your mama bear face.
Oh,
and
totally. And everyone should understand, after you've had a baby, no one wants you to go up touching them, or let like other people's kids should not go up and touch your baby. Yeah. So that's something everyone should be aware of.
Yeah, and I think you should just feel totally okay being like, oopsie, no touching.
Yeah, people who get offended by that, that's their own problem.
That's
because your baby's health and well-being is more important.
It's so true.
Okay, this is a question we get a lot on the Intermountain Moms Facebook page. How long until your cycle is normal after having a baby? So it's dependent on a couple of different things. The first is if you're nursing, and the second is if you're using birth control, because both of those will affect your cycle.
And mine was different all 3 times, and
like you started at different times.
Yeah, but the same, like not using birth control and nursing. And using condoms, like not using like a different kind of...
like a hormone that's going to affect your cycle.
And it was different for me. Sorry, I'll let you answer.
No, that's great. I think that's a perfect example of how your period can return as early as 7 weeks postpartum, or like not even until you've stopped nursing, and you can get everything in between.
And I started my period before I stopped nursing, and I'm like irate about it. Like it was like, I think it was like 3 months, 4 months.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what's my problem?
You get used to not bleeding after you're pregnant, and then all of a sudden you don't have a problem. That's normal.
But I'm nursing, like fully nursing. Like I'm not. There's no formula.
Your body returns to like a fertile state at some point. But okay, studies have shown that nursing is 98% effective at preventing pregnancy for the first 3 months.
Yeah.
And then after that, most women's bodies start to naturally return to a fertile state.
Stupid body.
Yeah. So and especially once you start giving solids, if you do supplement with formula, and then once you start bleeding, like nursing cannot be a good form of birth control for you.
Oh gosh, no, I don't trust it. I feel like I'm always like, if you weren't like preventing it with like 2 methods, you were trying to get pregnant.
Secretly.
Yeah, right? Yeah. No.
And there's tons of different birth control options for women who are nursing. So most doctors want to talk to their patients during their prenatal appointments, like right before delivery, because then they can implement it at the 6-week appointment and just like start you off protected.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is another conversation for another day, but there's something to be said about birth spacing too. Because if you have babies like right on top of each other, your body hasn't healed. It doesn't have all the stores it needs to feed your growing baby. And studies have been done on this too that show it affects the health of the older children. So like for moms, older children, and growing babies, babies should be born like 2.5 to 3 years apart. In Utah, no one follows that rule.
Yeah. Well, it's like you gotta follow your bliss, right?
But everyone needs to make their own decisions. But those are just things to think about.
Yeah, things to think about. That's a very nice way to put it. You just put that in your pipe, but don't smoke.
So we've had so much fun together. Hopefully we hear from you guys in the future. Intermountain
Yay.
Moms for me and Allison.
The Alison Show. I don't know.
Yeah, we told you can finger like everywhere.
I feel like you should just hang out with Nurse Dani, though. I want to hang out with Nurse Dani.
I want to hang out with Allison.
We're going to hang out together.
Yeah.
You're going to come to a dance party.
I would love that. That would be so
I'll
much
maybe
fun.
see if I can get you a ticket.
Woo, we were wanted to show you guys our dance moves, but we didn't get the chance.
I know.
Maybe another time.
I'll get her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good to talk to you guys. Hopefully we hear from you soon.